Hey, supply chainers, wherever you are in the world, this is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. And hello, supply chainers, and happy Tuesday. I am so excited to be back here with you for Thoughts and Coffee. Audrey did an amazing job hosting last week while I was on my way back from Amsterdam, and we'll talk about that trip in just a minute. But we could not have Thoughts and Coffee without our sponsors. So you just saw and heard from Fastenal. And Emerge is also proud to partner with Thoughts and Coffee to elevate our combined focus on empowering and growing meaningful relationships in the freight industry. The first and only freight-specific RFP platform, Emerge is reinventing freight procurement by offering solutions that enhance the spot and contract procurement process, enabling shippers to make the most strategic decisions possible, saving invaluable time and enhancing productivity. Learn more at emergemarket.com/thoughts and coffee. So again, I am back with you from my trip to Europe. So I spent a week in Hamburg. I was emceeing the global management meeting for Hapag-Lloyd. It was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. I had a great time with the team out in Hamburg. We had managers from all over the globe joining us in a variety of different conversations. I learned so much and gained so much insight. So I just want to say a shout out to Hapag-Lloyd. Thank you so much for having me and trusting me with that global management meeting. I thought it was great. And then I had some downtime in Amsterdam, which was a lot of fun. But let me tell you, there are a lot of people traveling in Europe right now. Everybody has been cooped up for a couple of years, and now they're like, we are ready to travel because there was so many people. Anyways, let's get into what is happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain right now. So our episode of this week is with Klaus, and we're talking about digital transformation, but we're not talking about digital transformation as you know it. He talks about processes, but then he dives into it even deeper, and he gives us reasons why we need to look at it from a completely different perspective. He's even come out with a book on this topic. It has a swear word in it, so I can't say it. But if you do want to go and check that out and check out what we spoke about, go and look up episode 271 wherever you subscribe to our podcast. You can also check it out in video format over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube page as well. All right, what else is happening? So we've got some events coming up. This one is coming up tomorrow. So I'm hosting a webinar about perfecting your back to school strategy with ocean visibility on behalf of Four Kites. And I think it's going to be a really great discussion. We kind of talk about what retailers are going through right now and what visibility will actually mean. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more with Audrey later on in the show. Plus, we've got Imagine. So I am partnering with Laura Ciceri this year, September 6th through 8th, for her global summit called Imagine. And I'm going to be hosting alongside Jonathan Kempe of Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac for their digital side of that conference as well. Super, super exciting for that. I'll be in Washington for that one. And then, of course, we've got action items with DC Shvagola. She goes live every second Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. LogTech Live with Eric Johnson now goes live twice a month at 10 a.m. Eastern on a Friday. So check that one out. We've had a lot of great feedback for all of our live shows. Now, we're also partnering with Manifest again. So I don't know if you guys heard me talking about this event back in January, but we're partnering again with Manifest coming up this January. We're going to be doing some fun stuff on the floor. We're also going to be providing a show special to anybody who wants to record a podcast with us on site. So get in touch with us. This is going to be a lot of fun. And actually, we're doing the same thing. So Home Delivery Show is coming up in Philadelphia at the end of August. We're doing the same thing for that as well. I'm going to be podcasting on site. So if you're interested in talking to us about that, please do DM me, reach out to us because we'd love to talk to you about that. Of course, we've got Intelligent Automation Week in Chicago, July 27th to 29th. That is going to be a lot of fun as well. And then, of course, we've got No Bullshipping with Hope White. That's live every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then today at noon, Rob Garrison of Mercado is going live with First Things First. You're not going to want to miss this episode. I mean, Rob does a really great job of talking about supply chain technology, talking about the first mile and what that actually means to your business. So go and check that out. Come back and be here at Let's Talk Supply Chain, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere you want to watch. We're going to be live again at 12 noon today. And then, of course, we've got Coming in Hot with Abby Baird. We have so much going on. I love it. Now, the only other thing that I want to talk about is Blended. So you know that we've got the Blended podcast and we talk about diversity and inclusion. If you haven't checked it out, go to letstalksupplychain.com. Check out the Blended podcast. But what we've also done is turned that into a nonprofit. We're giving grants away to diverse voices to say yes to speaking engagements. And those grants are going to be used to cover your travel expenses. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we opened up the applications. So we have 3 grants available right now. So if you know a diverse voice that is looking to say yes to a speaking engagement and we can help them, please make sure that you go or that you give them the application link that we are putting in the comments right now. So that they can go and apply for this grant because we want to help as many people as possible this year. And then I've got one more thing, and then I promise we'll bring up Audrey. Yesterday, I released the Monthly Hustle, the June edition, and we're talking about the magic to money mindset. Now, listen, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a money manager, but I did want to talk about money mindset as it pertains to us individually, also entrepreneurs. And so we talk a little bit about it from a variety of different standpoints because I'm listening to the book Psychology of Money, and I've learned quite a bit about risk and luck and all sorts of things that I wanted to share with you. So if you're signed up for the Monthly Hustle, great. Go and check out the latest article or the latest newsletter. If you're not signed up, go and check that out now. All right, I am done. It is now time to bring up Audrey. Hello.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How
I'm
are
good.
you?
Keep you busy.
Yeah, keeping busy.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for hosting last week. I heard that it was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Got to chat with our friend Emiliano. Had a great group in the audience. So some of my familiar faces, so I wasn't so nervous, like Daven and Rhonda and Larry, and yeah, so it was good. It was fun.
Good. So why not, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, can you do an
Oh yeah, for sure.
introduction? Plus, I think you have something super awesome coming out this week that I really want you to tell us about.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm Audrey. I'm here in Toronto, Canada. I'm the Import and Export Compliance Manager at Orchard Custom Beauty, which is an award-winning business-to-business private labeling company specializing in beauty tools, cosmetics, and bath accessories. And we ship worldwide. We ship about 14 or 15 countries right now. And yeah, so I'm super honored. I was asked to do a little interview with The Economist. So The Economist magazine has a podcast called Money Talks. And so they had me on to talk a little bit about what's going on, in the market, what the experience of sort of a mid-sized shipper is in relation to a really sort of high-level article that they posted. So it's sort of complimentary to that. So it sounds like that'll be out. I think that'll be released tomorrow. I think they do a weekly Wednesday podcast, and that was with a good friend of mine, Sumaya Keynes, who's with that team. So So
That
yeah,
is so awesome. Congratulations. There's like
yeah.
2.4 million people that listen to that podcast. So I am
It's
so
rather a large podcast. Yeah.
excited for you. I'm so excited. And I'm sure you
Huh.
did such an amazing job. So we've got a
Yeah.
couple of comments about the live stream and that the
Yeah.
live stream isn't working in some places. I
Um,
know right now it's not, I can't see it on my personal LinkedIn. So if
okay.
you're over on my personal LinkedIn and you're watching it and you'd like to get a shout out, come over to the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn because I'd love to do that, or the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube, so we can see you and give you a shout out there as well. All these people, look, Audrey is a legend.
Hi.
Congratulations, Audrey, Bali, Rhonda. Thank you so much to
Yeah.
everybody because it really is a big deal. We got to celebrate those wins, which I'm super
Yeah.
excited about. All right. So let's talk about the poll of the week. So
Ooh.
this one, we kind of struggled with this one because I was like, we should ask about 2022. And then my team was like, no, we need to ask about 2021. So I think we'll probably do this poll twice because
Yeah.
this time we asked about 2021. The next one we'll ask you about 2022. So the question was, what was your biggest business struggle in 2021? So 79% of you said logistics planning and delays. 11% of you said
Surprise.
remote work management. 6% of you said other comment below, which we'll get to in a little bit. And 4% said virtual adoption. Now, looking at this, Audrey, which one would you have picked? And does any of this kind of surprise you?
This does not surprise me. Um, in that logistics planning and delays being the biggest business struggle because it's the kind of thing where, prior to 2021, most people had a handle on what they were doing, and most people in the company didn't even know that there was shipping and supply chain and delays, and most people that are customers didn't realize there was supply chain and that things were global. So I think it was sort of a surprise for people, and people got very acquainted with that. And the remote work management I think has been really challenging for people. I still don't think we're quite where we need to be on that for most places, and there's still like a big, like a real kind of um, disconnect, as it were,
Mm.
between what people are doing with hybrid, in person, like at work, and remote work. So I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation. But no, I wasn't surprised by sort of what people are concerned about.
Yeah, and some of the comments that were under the 6% of other was
Yeah,
homeschooling my kids,
yeah, yeah,
tight job market,
yeah,
which is crazy because we talk about not having enough like talent, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah, but 2021 wasn't quite like that. 2021 was hard,
yeah,
right? It's 2022 where now there's all these shifts maybe. So
yeah, budget cuts. Somebody said, I hate to say it, but at time combating stupid. That was Peter. And Peter, I don't think Peter's here with us today.
no, that's all the time.
And then above, imagine all of the above plus merger and integration. Whew,
Ooh,
I could not imagine. I mean,
no,
I know
I
a
was
couple
glad
of
we were
companies
past ours.
went through that, but mergers and acquisitions are tough on their own. All
Yeah,
right, let's get to my Sunday post. So every Sunday, I thank you, Larry. Totally. Yes. Love Larry. Um, so every Sunday, I do write a little bit of a post about sort of leadership and something that I'm thinking about. That's why it's so closely tied to Thoughts and Coffee, because I think about it as my Thoughts and Coffee kind of post. So this one was a quote that I found on, I think it was Instagram. I am so afraid of disappointing the people I love. I often forget that I am someone I love too, and I need kindness just as much as I believe the people I love do as well. Now, this is always something that I think a lot of us struggle with. I struggle with it a lot because, I just want to give, I want to be there for people. But sometimes you really have to say, no, you know what? I need to be there for myself today, or maybe I need to be there for myself this morning or this evening or this afternoon. And it really hit me hard that, yeah, we love a lot of people and we don't take away from any of that by showing ourselves some love as well. What did you, and kindness too, right? It's not just about that love, it's about that self-talk and kindness and how we speak to ourselves and what that means to us. Audrey, what did you think about that?
yeah. It's such a good reminder, and someone who can be very hard on themselves, and but it's important to kind of fill yourself up first, and ensure that, sort of your energy is where you want it to be, because that's really when you're able to connect well and share well with other people. And so sometimes it's really learning about how your energy kind of is, and what you need to do to take rest, or to reorient yourself, so that you can sort of be the best version of yourself, which is self-compassionate and self-loving, but then also it sort of radiates out, right? And that's when you're sort of in the best place to be supportive and kind and caring to others as well.
Yeah, I had so many people comment on this particular post and be like, "I really needed to hear that today."
Yeah,
Like I there's so much pressure on us putting kindness out into the world. I
yeah,
think we need to put a little bit more pressure
yeah,
on being kinder to ourselves,
yeah,
with that self-talk in doing things for ourselves and that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
anyways, I just wanted to share that post because it resonated with a lot of people, and so I hope that it resonates with you today and helps you in some way or another moving into the rest of your day. Now, we are getting to our first article of the day, and it's kind of ironic because it's about Hatbag Lloyd, and I literally just spent 3 days with them over in Hamburg. And actually, I should show you guys. This is the book
Oh
that
yeah,
I was given as a thank you for emceeing. It's a
it's
book of their
beautiful.
175 years in business. And it was something that they were celebrating while I was there as well, which is very cool. I have not had a chance to go through it, but I will soon. So, this particular article talks a lot about real-time visibility and how in 2019 they went live with something called the Hatbag Live, which I actually hadn't even heard of, but apparently it's real-time monitoring. And now by the end of I think 2023, they're also coming out with visibility as well. A visibility tool. They're partnering with Nexiot and Orbcom for the devices for data collection, forecast and operations, better performance, and to know exactly where the container is, monitoring temperature, sudden shocks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think about this? I mean, we talk about visibility all the time, but a shipper's perspective, I mean, you must be rolling your eyes and being like, really? Like, is this really going to make the difference that we're looking for, right? Because we hear that word all the time, but I don't know if we've achieved full visibility yet.
Yeah, I think we quite often have an idea of where things are, and I still think the hurdle is the predictability of the timing. We are
Mm.
still dealing with issues where it's very vague on the amount of time that something is going to take to get through. Not so much port to port. The transit time is fairly locked in, like it's
Yeah.
fairly consistent. It's the offloading. What is happening at the port? When is it being offloaded? When can I access it? If I can access it and need inland transportation, how long is that transportation going to take? So when you get a booking, from your origin port, you get a schedule, and like, well,
Yeah.
what does that schedule mean? Does it mean anything? And I mean, right off the bat, I know that the ETA date on there, that's not when I'm going to get the goods, right? So we all have little benchmarks of time that we add in. I would never take that ETA to my team and be like, oh yeah, it should be here in like 5 weeks. Really? Like, oh, you sent me 5 weeks on this route. Okay, sure, I believe you. But and so I think all of these visibility tools that have been coming out the last sort of 3 to 5 are really trying to tackle that, because everybody knows that it's like that ETA is like not, what it is. But no one has been able to really lock in. Okay, I've made the booking. What's how can I predict the delays? And it's still very vague. Like, well, we expect 2 to 4 week delays at LA. So there's a lack of precision that I think people would like to see. And people can see it with other things. Like, if you can see it on your little, it's what you're interacting with in your personal life. If I can see it on the Amazon
Uber.
truck, I can see the little, whatever. Why can't I see that on the boat? And I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, let's take Uber for example, right? You're waiting for the driver to get there. This happened to me a couple of
Yeah.
times in Europe. Hamburg was not the greatest for Uber. I'm just gonna say, if you are gonna be in Hamburg, take a taxi. I had to cancel a couple of Uber rides because they were like a 1 kilometer away, and then they went in the completely opposite direction, and they were like 6 minutes away. And I was like, I got to get somewhere. Like, this isn't going to work for me. But that
Yeah.
kind of real time data is what we're getting in our personal lives. And I think it's what we're expecting in our shipping lives as well. So if
Yeah.
we're talking about the word visibility, I think we really need to hone in on what that actually means as far as expectations on
Yeah.
each different level, right?
Yeah.
And I think Uber has sort of set that tone, just sort of like Amazon has set the tone from shipping expectations. Uber's kind of set that tone as to, okay, I want to see where that vessel is, and I want an app like that. You know what I mean? Like, are we ever
Yeah.
going to get there?
But we wouldn't need that if there was any sort of management of expectations. I think that's a big part of it, is that carriers and freight forwarders, and it's the communication and the customer service of it. But it's like, if you give me a booking form and you kind of imply that that's what the ETA is, that's the number I'm going to have in my mind, whether that's correct or not. So I think the communication piece on um, that education piece on, you've got someone sitting in an office in Toronto and Austin and, in Hamburg, being like, oh, my stuff's coming from Panama or
Yeah.
Shanghai. Where is it?
Where exactly is it? I remember getting this. I remember getting this question. I can't remember what year it was, but it must have been like 2014, maybe 2015. And I was on the phone with a customer, and they were like, where can I go? What website can I go to actually track the container that my product's in? And I chuckled because I was like, there's nothing out there that could do that. And my naivete was like, it's going to be a while until that, even comes to reality, if it comes to reality. And now here we are saying it's possible because we've seen it in other industries, and that's what we want in our industry as well. And the people are speaking up. The other thing that I wanted to just mention was a couple of topics that came up was sustainability. So, I think Audrey has left us, but that's okay. She'll be back. So, one of the biggest topics was around sustainability and how do we get there, and how do we get to be zero emissions by a certain date? All of the carriers or freight forwarders or organizations are coming out with these years that they want to have zero carbon emissions. But it's the challenges that they're going to face right now to be able to get there for that particular. Hello, you're back. So I'm just talking about sustainability. So
Good call.
that was a big topic that we talked about. But it's kind of like, how are we going to get there? How are we going to, nobody really knows how we're going to get to zero emissions by a particular year. Part of that is fuel, because we don't necessarily have the fuel on the market to be able to actually make the vessels to a point where we can get zero emissions, from what I'm understanding. The second is, who pays for that? So some of the discussion is the shipper is saying, absolutely not. I'm not passing this along to my customer. I'm not paying for it. The freight forwarder is saying, well, we're not paying for it. We need to pass that cost on. The carriers are saying the same thing. And so I think, in order for us to get to zero emissions at a certain point in time, or at least alleviate that timeline, like if you're looking at 2045 and we need it sooner than that, 2030, 2035, those are the two biggest questions I think we need to solve in order for that to actually happen. And so just something that I wanted to throw out there that, carriers, freight forwarders, and everybody are sort of thinking about. Now, our second article is about Shanghai. So Shanghai has been locked down for a variety of different reasons. Well, I mean, COVID, but a variety of different times. And now we're thinking that it's going to affect imports into Q2 and Q3. So we want to bring this up to your attention because Shanghai is down 25%. Was down 25% in April. So if you're getting imports from China or Shanghai, this is definitely going to affect you. And we definitely want to bring this up to you as well, because there's a port strike coming up as well. Now, the ports have said that there will be no issues with the port strike. But I mean, who knows until we actually get there. So I want to talk to Audrey a little bit about what she's seeing as far as disruptions from some of these Shanghai lockdowns, and what other disruptions are you actually seeing right now, and what do you think the port strike is going to do?
Right. So I didn't see it. I mean, we saw some disruptions early on with Shanghai, but we've had goods moving kind of okay from there since beginning of May. So I can see I see all these articles talking about this, like, oh my gosh, there's going to be this huge volume of stuff that comes out of Shanghai, and I'm not quite. I don't know. I've been moving stuff, so I don't know if maybe it was regions didn't have production available, and all of a sudden it became available. So in the last 4 weeks, their production has dialed up, and that's what the volume is. Because I was like, it was, yes, it was on lockdown, but stuff was kind of moving. And then the Los Angeles situation is an interesting one, and I was thinking about it the other day. Like, maybe I'm the only dummy who didn't think to move their stuff somewhere else. Because I had something come in, and it was like, you're so accustomed now to Los Angeles taking just forever,
Yeah.
right? So that you're like, I didn't have paperwork ready. I didn't. It was like, I got the kind of pre-arrival notice, like, okay, it's going into customs. I'm like, didn't it just ship? Like, it's like 3 weeks. Like, that's it was like sort of like normal time, but I'm so accustomed to delay time that I was like completely caught off guard by this. And then I was like, is it because I'm the only person who's still shipping to LA? I didn't bother to like move stuff to New York or move stuff to Houston. I was just like, whatever, we'll see what happens. So we're kind of waiting and seeing on the port strike. Of course, we've got you've got your usual people on top of it with the inside scoop, over at like JOC and stuff like that. So I'm trying to keep an eye on Twitter, because you get a lot of breaking news on Twitter with what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the deadline is July 1st. So if they go into something like, it's too late for me. I've got stuff already on its way there, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to predict. Again, hard to predict. And then I think the biggest challenge market for me, we've got congestion delays at quite a few ports in Europe. So I had something going into Rotterdam, but it was stopping at a couple of Duisburg and Antwerp and whatever, and they're busy. So it's like all of a sudden my inbound to Rotterdam was like, it added almost 2.5 weeks. Like, just surprise. Like, I'd submitted for customs because it's like, yeah, oh, it's gonna land, so I better submit for customs. And then it's like, and then the broker's like, okay, well, where's the manifest? And the forwarder's like, oh, this isn't landing until like the 24th of June. And I was like, what happened? So there's a bit of congestion when you're multiple port.
That's the visibility piece that we're talking about. And the fact that like ETA stands for estimated time of arrival.
Yeah.
That's thrown in your face all the time, right? Because it's like, that's estimated, okay?
I know, but there's estimated, and it's like there's what people expect. So like estimated time of arrival, and then you're like within a week of that, you're like, okay, fair. But then when it's like the last year, it's been like, we're within 7 weeks of that. You're like, okay, no, that's unreasonable now. And then the other issue we're seeing in Canada is the rail terminal and a build up. So we can't even get stuff to leave from Vancouver because everything's so jammed up in Toronto and Montreal. Like, truckers aren't even going anymore. I don't know. It'll be an interesting issue. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us. I think we're going to do this more often where we hear from you and from the retail sector. What's going on? What are the real-time disruptions? What are people actually dealing with? Because I think we need to hear more and more about it. All right, we've got 2 minutes left, and we've got one more article.
Oh,
now,
sorry.
I wanted to showcase. No, it's totally fine. I wanted to showcase this particular article because what they're talking about is when things fall flat. We've got inflation right now. We've got budget cuts. We've got layoffs. It really affects diversity and inclusion. We might not think about that when we think about all these things that are happening, but I just want to bring this top of mind because diverse voices are usually the groups that get affected the most during these times. And we really need to hold these companies accountable because they boast about the fact that they're doing things in diversity and inclusion. And then when the layoffs come, they're laying off diverse voices. So quickly, Audrey, any last thoughts on this particular article and why people should go and check it out?
I think it made me angry, but 2, it's not optional. Like, people treat diversity and inclusion in the workplace like it's optional. And so then in this case specifically, they're reverting to their core business, which is not inclusive or not, does not value everyone in the room or everyone being in the room. And I think that is 1, offensive, and 2, just not a good plan. Like you said it out, like they said it out loud, like, oh, push comes to shove, we don't actually need this whole department that facilitates this community and hires these people. And I think that's problematic.
Yeah, this is an important topic. And so I really want to give a plea out there to everybody to hold brands accountable, because we do need to make strides in this and we can't be taking steps back. Again, Blended is providing grants to diverse voices to say yes to speaking engagements so we can see more diversity on industry stages. So either help us by donating to our GoFundMe page, or send the application link. We've got everything in the comments. Send the application link to somebody who needs it, because we'd love to give away a grant. Anyways, thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Laura Ciceri will be with me next week to talk about Imagine and what's going on in supply chain. So we hope you have an amazing day and week ahead, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Audrey.